After that tidal wave of New York Jets activity and free agency, of course, on a mock draft Monday, we had to do a brand new, fresh out of the package 7 round mock draft, factoring in the Morgan Moses trade, the Tyron Smith signing. What would the New York Jets do now at the 10th overall pick? And quite frankly, the rest of their picks in this draft? We're about to find out with a key expert. More coming up here on Boy Green Daily.
It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas. Good morning, what's popping, New York Jet fans? I'm Paul Liston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show live every morning at 7:30. Also available wherever you find your podcast slightly later in the day. Make sure you guys check that out if you prefer it. All right, let's get right into it. Every Mock Draft Monday during draft season, we've had this wonderful draft expert on who has his own channel. The direct link to that is in the YouTube description. Project Prospect. Let's bring in Dom C. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have him on the airwaves throughout this entire season, and he graces us with his presence right now. Good morning, Dom C.
Morning, Paul. How are you, sir?
Wow. I'm doing a lot better than I was last week, knowing where some of these directions the Jets are set to go, and a few more high-profile visits this week. So there's some more talent they could add to the team. So I thought, well, why not? Any excuse to do some mock draft action, but specifically after that offensive tackle dip, it may have changed things or may not have changed things. So I felt like it was the proper time to get the gear and dive into the deep end of the pool.
Hey, it's always good, in my opinion, to go through and work through these exercises, and that's all mock drafts are. I harp that to everyone and anyone who may be listening on audio form and video or watching on video. These are exercises. They're not reality. We see, hey, if we do this, what happens here? And if we kind of finagle this way, what happens if we shake down here, and so on and so forth, and boom, 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 and let's rock, man.
Yeah, you had some sharp rocks thrown at you on the last mock draft. So,
hey, man.
I guess any publicity is good publicity, but
that's okay.
Wow.
That's okay.
You're a trooper.
I'm a big boy. I'm a trooper.
Yeah.
I've been called worse.
Wow,
and that's it.
It feels more so like a challenge to the fans. Oh, you've been called worse, so we're going to try really hard then to really get after you.
Well, listen, I know these fans, these viewers, these supporters in the chat aren't the ones throwing the daggers. It's it's the rest of the crazy Jets Twitter. And man, what a week, like you said. I mean, nothing like the pendulum swings from oh my God, Joe Douglas to oh my God, Joe Douglas. You know, like it was absolutely a sight to behold out in social media world. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's start up here. Folks will be using the PFF mock draft simulator, and you see the settings over to your right side of the screen if you're watching. The Jets' 10th overall pick. We will be doing all 7 rounds. But this time, the last time we did a mock draft simulator with Dom C, we did not entertain trades. I thought pre-free agency, with all this stuff going on, it's kind of impossible to document trades. However, it's a bit more likely now because we kind of know some of the big pieces for the Jets, and they could entertain some of this. Plus, Rich Cimini said yesterday the Jets are very much in that conversation based on people he was talking to. So without further ado, let's enter the draft for the New York Jets.
Hi-yo.
Start this thing. Booyah. Okay, let's see. Wow, Dallas Turner. Okay, spicy. Okay, let's go through. I'll read the top 10 real quick for all our audio listeners. Caleb Williams goes number 1. Drake May goes number 2. Jaden Daniels number 3. Marvin Harrison number 4. Malik Neighbors 5. JJ McCarthy 6. So there's more and more I'm thinking about that. Joe Alt 7. Roma Dunze 8. Dallas Turner 9. Jets 10. I'm going to be honest. This is the most realistic top 10 that we've ever had.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest.
Again, I know it's only March, but this is how I forecast the top 9 picks to go. Maybe not in the exact order, but definitely the players.
Okay, so that feels great because, like, for these simulations, I want them to be as realistic as possible. If Caleb Williams falls here, we're like, yeah, that's a great pick, but like it's dumb. So I don't want the draft to fall in that way. So yeah, with it projecting, as you say, with the players that were supposed to be on the board, what direction do you go with the Jets? And also, they have Tyron Smith, they have Morgan Moses. The trade backs are opportunities. Where do you lean here?
So here's exactly where I lean, Paul. I think that for me, you gotta enter. Here's the thing. On paper, ideally, there's still a lot. There's still 4 of the top 5 tackles on my board. 2 of them that I have ranked very, very closely to Joe Alt. So to me, that the value is for tackle. Ideally, if you can trade down and maybe still net one of those tackles, if you have them on the same board, that means a small trade down. Doesn't mean to drop down to the Packers at 23 and try to get a 2 or 3 and a 4, something like that. But I think a trade down would make sense here, a couple spots. But here's the question, and here's the big thing that a lot of people don't realize: who's trading up and for what? Right? The quarterback's board. The 3 weapons are off the board. The 3 big wide receivers are off the board. I should say that. That group, that next tier of wide receivers, however you have them ranked or however the team has them ranked, whether it's Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, all those guys, you don't have to necessarily trade up to get them. So the question is, who is trading up? That's the big, the $1 million, the big caveat, the big pink elephant in the room, if you will, with all the Jets fans that say, "Oh well, you just trade down, get a second rounder, and go get your wide receiver." I agree, but it's not that easy. So here's what I'm going to do: if you flip that trade, I'm willing to go down as low as 15.
Okay,
it's probably the absolute max that I'd be willing to move down. So,
okay, let's see. All right.
Select Denver Broncos and see who's offering us trades there, Paul.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. So let's try to go to your 15 area, which was the Colts.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Select a team to trade with. Let's see. Okay. I'm a monkey operating the spotlight.
That's okay. Here. That's okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Let me pull up my draft value chart here.
Sure, please do.
If I can give us the, try to be realistic about this.
Sure.
All right, so you're down at 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that 15 pick is worth $10.50, right? And our pick is worth $1,300.
Yes. So it's probably a high third, right?
What's the difference? That's $250. That's probably a high third. So what I would do here is probably just go ahead. Listen, everyone wants a second. We can get their second, but we're gonna have to give up our third. We can entertain that to see if they want to do that, or we take the 1, the 3, and the 4. I think that's probably more along the lines and kick them back something late, whether it's 2 7ths or something like that. So either one you want to do. Either one you want to do, Paul. Let's try. Let's try 15 and 46 for 10 and 72. Let's see if they'll bite.
They say this trade will likely be accepted. So, so we're trading from Indianapolis at 15. We're trying to get their first and second for a first and third. Let's offer the trade to the Colts. Let's see what they say. The trade was accepted. There's your second round pick, folks. And I will just say real quick that my kind of mentality in terms of trading down is there are 4 players. Realistically, there's obviously more, but I imagine a lot of these are going to be taken. But even realistically or not, there are 4 players. If any of one of these 4 on the board, I'm not trading. I'm Dave Gettleman. I'm not picking up the phone. It's one of the 3 wide receivers or Joe Alt. If somehow any of those are on the board, then that's where I'm going. If they're all not, to your point, I think at that moment I'm like, all right. Let's pack up the family. We're on the move.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the mentality. So great, and I think it's a very realistic trade. So now we here are at 15.
So who?
Let's-
I'm just curious because I can't see who went between 10 and
Yes.
15.
So at 10, the Colts moved up for Fuaga, so
Mhm.
he's off the board. The Vikings took Olu Fashanu, Minnesota. Denver Broncos took Jared Verse. Las Vegas Raiders took J.C. Latham. New Orleans Saints took Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Those were the selections.
And see, in my in the Dom C world,
Yeah,
we did, we missed the boat here because that run of
I
the
see.
that next wave of tackles was gone. Ideally, like I said, I draft down knowing that I can get one of those 4, and we lost 2, 3, and 4 between 10, 11, and 14. So
which is the danger. Which is the danger
which
of
is the
making this
danger.
trade there.
So for me, here we go. I'm gonna pivot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, listen. I could take another tackle. I could take a Mims or a Guyton or something like that, and that's fine because those guys, although super super talented, especially Mims and Guyton, I think that their their ceilings are very high. They just need a little bit more time. This might be the perfect opportunity to come in and learn behind 2 mentors. But I'm gonna pivot and go ahead and give me Brian Thomas Jr.,
Whoa.
the wide receiver.
Wow. I thought
Yeah.
for sure you were going to dip your toe in the Brock Bowers water.
I am not winning. If weapon is the choice for me, it's going to be a receiver. So give me Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay. And by the way, real quick, just because it's a bit of buzzworthy topic, the other name I see on here that Jet fans have been drawing over is Troy Fott now. No interest there.
Like I said, I have it. To me, I would still probably lean tackle. At this point, maybe I'd trade back a little bit more, but my goal in that little mini trade down is to target one of those 4.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I want to show everyone here, and again, I still think the best way to handle this, even in a trade down, is tackle wide receiver. But
yeah,
I'm going to show the word. I'm going to let's show the exercise of what it looks like the opposite way. All right.
Okay. All right. I like it. So Brian Thomas Jr., you are a New York Jet with the 15th overall pick after a trade down scenario. Beautiful. Yeah. And now we're skipping along. Remember, because of that 10 to 15 slide down, we're able to get a second round pick from the Colts. Remember, we did give up 72 overall. So keep that in mind a little bit later. So now we're swimming in some new waters that we haven't been because the Jets obviously have not had a second round pick here. So do we immediately look in the offensive tackle waters to see who is the second?
Let's and again, this is the show again to kind of hammer my real point why I think tackle in the first goes, because look, the pickings just get very slim.
Yeah.
The pickings get absolutely, the water just drops off.
So, Patrick Paul stands out from this list, it looks like.
Yeah, Patrick Paul stands out from this list. Roger Rosengarten's actually an extremely good tackle. I know that PFF has him ranked very low. He's going to go much higher than that. He's, he played right, he played right tackle at Washington, very, very athletic, goes out, an aggressive blocker as well. Not the strongest anchor, still has to get a little stronger for my liking. I think he's going to be a really good pro. But for me, I'd probably, like you said, I'd probably go ahead and I'd stick Patrick Paul here. He's got the length, 36 and 1/4 inch arms, at 6'7". Again, not the ideal movement skills that some of the tackles previously had, in the sense of, like the guys that we missed out, the Olufushanus, the Troy Fontenaus, the, that sense of the world. We don't have that type of athletic or movement skills in Patrick Paul. However, there's something to be said about, 6'7 and a half with 36-inch arms. He's very adept, technical, just needs, again, he's a guy that would need a year or so to get a little bit more refined, probably get a little, again, this is the perfect situation. If he's got to come in and he's got to step in for a game or 2 or 3, that's fine. But Patrick Paul's going to be my pick.
I love it. Again, with Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, you have your 2 starting tackles. But now with Patrick Paul, he could take his sweet time in the old development train.
And I think that what you have with Patrick Paul is that you have somebody versatile who really defines, in this sense, swing tackle. He could play the left, he could play the right, back up, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love it. So, boom. With the first two picks, by the way, for those who are just joining us, I'm seeing people are coming in and out. With the 15th overall pick, we got Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU, in a trade down scenario with the Colts, which picked up their second, but we had to give up our third. And then, of course, as well, we just added Patrick Paul, offensive tackle. So now we go to the fourth round. The Jets,
which we have 2 fourth rounders here.
We do, yes. And for folks who may be confused, remember with the Morgan Moses trade, the Jets did have 2 fourth-round picks that were sandwiched in between 3 picks. They sacrificed their earlier one for to Baltimore. The Jets still have 111. They give it 113 to Baltimore, and then they have the back end 135, which is the final pick of the 4th round as well. So we start here at 111. What's the direction here? We hit the 2 big needs people talk about at obviously offensive tackle or wide receiver.
Yeah. So here's the avenue, I think. Then a bunch of different things. Now, Brian Thomas, 6'3", 209. He's your X-build wide receiver. You kind of lock that down. You got Garrett Wilson who can do a little bit of everything. He played X last year. He could still do that, play Y. To me, not in this order, but I still want to target somebody, a more slot dominant wide receiver. Okay, yeah. I think that's of importance. I think a safety is of importance. I think a defensive lineman, whether it's an edge or an interior guy, probably more so on the edge. Someone to step in if we see one that has a pass rush, capabilities. Sure. To fill in for some of the reps from that we lost in Bryce Huff, I'd look there as well. And a running back. If we're checking off needs on the box, that's what we're doing. There's also a point where you can go best available.
Sure.
Maybe another interior lineman as well. But for here, I want to look in the safety room.
Safety, sure.
I do want to look in the safety room. Now, I know, guys, I know you see Javon Baker there, and I know he's a very hot name. I don't think Javon Baker is going to be here in the 4th round. I'm going to pass him up, and I'm not going to pass
realism.
Up.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to pass up on Cole Bishop right here.
Okay.
He's probably going to be my play.
Okay.
I think he's probably one of the more developed, more ready to play, well-rounded safeties in this class. 6'2", 206, tested out of this world. Can play in, can fit very well in a cover 2, cover 4 scheme as a split safety. Has enough chops to play up at the box, loose enough hips to play deep center field. Very versatile player. One of these guys that I think, I don't say this a lot about prospects, but I think this guy is going to be one of those safeties that you look back 5 years and go, wow, I can't believe he was taken in the 4th round.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
He's really, really good. And this is where I'd probably lock him up.
Okay. Just for the fans, the Jets do have Chuck Clark and Tony Adams, but they need a 3rd starting caliber safety in general, I think, for NFL teams. But specifically, Chuck Clark's coming off a torn ACL. The only good news for Chuck Clark, it happened in OTA, so he's had a ton of time to recover, more so than the typical player. I love the Chuck Clark brought back. But again, you need somebody long-term. Learning from Chuck Clark would be phenomenal. Well, the only other – go ahead.
Oh, no, after you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, just the last thing is this is a position we attacked last time in the mock draft at this point, so I'm fine not doing it here, but just to put it on the list is, of course, quarterback. And Rich Cimini said yesterday the Jets will, quote-unquote, definitely add a 3rd quarterback. Likely, he said, where the range starts in his mind, from his understanding, is 4th round is the earliest the Jets would consider a quarterback. So this is starting to be in the range. So like I said, we did Spencer Rattler last time, so I appreciate the exercise of going in different directions anyway, but just throwing that position out there as well. But yes, what do you make of the 3rd starting caliber safety we were just talking about?
I think you got to remember also that Chuck Clark is going to play a lot of sub linebacker in those nickel and dime sets. The Jets will emphasize a big nickel formation where they have 3 safeties on the board, or on the field, not on the board. But for me, like I said, this is not only a play for the future, which I think he will. I mean, he's a starting caliber safety in this league. He comes in as a starting caliber safety, but I think it's a guy that's going to see the field now, especially if they don't bring back an Ashton Davis, so on and so forth. So, like I said, I love the physical aspects of Cole. The size, the speed, and more so, I think I just love the fit in our defense. Split safety, can creep up, can play single high. I love it. Cole Bishop's my pick here.
Okay, yeah, sorry guys. I will I see a couple of people just have the video on while they're driving as they're commuting to work, so I will try to do a better job of reading name, position, and player. Cole Bishop, safety out of Utah's the pick here, the number 111th overall pick
Mhm.
in the 4th round. So we'll do that, and I'll recap the entire draft, obviously, when we get to that point. We're going to skip along here. It's going to go to our other 4th round pick. Remember, this was a pick swap with the Baltimore Ravens. This is the final pick in the 4th round for the New York Jets, number 135 overall. Okay, where are we dipping our toes here?
Like I said, I want to look at the wide receivers. I would like to look at the slot wide receivers.
Okay. All right. By the way, I love Will Shipley here. I got a lot of views of him in ACC country here in Syracuse. He's a talented player. When we're looking best available, he pops up there. But okay, let's look at some wide receivers. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, Taj Washington fits the bill of exactly what I'm looking at. I don't know. I don't know if this might
he's
be
available here.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a little too rich if I'm, being completely honest for someone like Taj Washington. I think he's more of a 4th or 5th round. Luke McCaffrey is another guy that that interests me, and he's probably the way I'm gonna lean here. I'm gonna lean Luke McCaffrey.
Okay.
I told you guys I still, even though we did take a wide receiver in the 1st round, there's still a need in the slot. I happen to be one of the few that is a fan of Xavier Gibson. I think he can develop himself into a decent player. Again, not a guy that I necessarily feel like I want to lean on right here, right now in this situation. Luke McCaffrey, he's a bigger slot at 6'2", 198, but he's a lot more. He tested out a lot more athletic than I thought he was. A 4, almost an under 4.20 shuttle. He ran 4.46. He was, 1.5 splits. Everything that you ask that I didn't expect to see from him, I did. He's shifty. He's well versed in terms of route running. Obviously, he's got some help there. He's got some pedigree. He knows how to control his body. He's got really good hands. The bottom of the 4th, beginning of the 5th, is a soft spot for him. He's a guy that can work out of the slot, even if you have to put him outside. I don't necessarily love his release packages, but again, that's something he can develop. This is a really good safety blanket. And then you add in, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Brian Thomas, you still have Alan Lazard on the team, you got Luke McCaffrey, you got the makings of you got Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Rucker, you got the makings of some really, really good pass catchers. So I'm going to go ahead and lock down my slot guy here in Luke McCaffrey.
All right, and this obviously guarantees Christian McCaffrey will also join the team at some point later as Paul's backup.
Yeah.
As his lackey. I love it. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice, with the number 135th overall pick of the 4th round, the final pick of the 4th round. Let's lock that in. Luke McCaffrey.
And then we got a 6 and 2 7ths.
That is correct. Yes. That is correct here. So let's see as we're trudging along. Yeah, again, no 5th round pick because of the Jacob Martin trade. So now we're picking here 185 overall for the New York Jets. This is now in round 6.
Yeah.
So we still haven't touched some of running back, quarterback. There's a defensive line, obviously, is another place that we could go. There's a couple other positions there.
Yeah. Why don't you open up the running backs, Paul? Let's see what we got. Scroll down and let's see what we got working here.
Okay. You got some representatives from Troy, Missouri, Southern Miss, Alabama, Ohio State.
You could stop right there.
Okay.
Again, guys, don't necessarily hone in on the PFF rankings because theirs are subjective to them.
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the kid from South Dakota State, Isaiah Davis. Paul, if you don't know anything about him,
I do not.
You should. He's a wonderful 6'1", 218 pounds. Was the workhorse, was the entire offense in South Dakota State. I love his tough physical nature rushing. Listen, he's not the fleetest of foot and so on and so forth, but for me, he's a guy that can come in. He can get you he can grind those yards between the tackles. He showed us, not us, but he showed all of America at the Senior Bowl and whatnot that he was more than just a power back, that he had ability to catch the ball in the backfield. But when I interviewed him and I talked to him, and a lot of people talked to him, the one thing that he made mention, man, which I thought was the coolest thing. Listen, this is a kid, man, 22 years old. And he said, you know what? He said, I asked him, like, what's the one, part of his game that he takes the most pride in? He said, man, I try to be the best blocker in pass pro that I can. He said that's my favorite part. I'd rather I'd rather lay out at the end and pancake him than score a touchdown. I said, kid, you're it. You're it.
Yeah.
No, but he's got the skill. Yeah,
there,
he's got the skills. I think he's, listen, I don't think he'll ever be a 3-down workhorse in the NFL, but he's a perfect complement back. Isaiah Davis is going to be my pick here.
All right. Let me ask you, is there any flirtation? I see one of our YouTube comments in your Trust the Bloodline. The tribal chief, Frank Gore Jr. is available on the board.
You know what? You can, all these running backs here at this point, kind of, they're all going to kind of be, in my opinion only, guys, they're the same kind of caliber, right? They're never going to be never going to be a workhorse. Maybe you work them in as part of a rotation, so on and so forth. You're looking for specific traits. For Isaiah Davis, I got a little bit of a bigger back, someone that can get some of the dirty yards, but more so someone that can step in right away into pass pro. I don't have to question that. I'm not downing Frank Gore. Frank Gore's probably a little bit, got a little bit more juice in the tank, got that third gear that Isaiah Davis doesn't have. But again, I'm choosing here out of all these running backs, I'm choosing the traits I like. Isaiah Davis is my pick.
Beautiful. So Isaiah Davis, the running back out of South Dakota State, is the pick for the New York Jets. 185 overall in the 6th round. You are a New York Jets, sir. Welcome to the squad. This will take us to the 7th round, where the New York Jets have their comp picks. These are the last 2 picks in the 2024 NFL draft that it worked out that way. So we have the penultimate and then Mr. Irrelevant himself. This is second time in NFL history that the Jets will have Mr. Irrelevant. But before we get to Mr. Irrelevant, let's get to the penultimate guy who does not have any name. 256 overall in the 7th round. Quarterback? Is that somewhere we're dipping our toe? Or should we save that for Mr. Irrelevant? We should save that. We should try to get our
listen. If I'm being honest with you, Paul, I think that I don't think that they're going to draft a quarterback. I think at this point, I think they're probably going to, the names that they've been tied to, right? They've been tied to a couple from the HBSC Bowl. They've been tied to Keaton Slovis from the Shrine Bowl. These guys are probably priority undrafted free agents. That's my lean.
You can beat the group, though, if you take him. There's no bidding, which is the intrigue of these last 2 picks.
Yeah.
And Sam Hartman's still here to Notre Dame, the flowing locks himself.
Yeah.
I
think I'm going to pass. You're going to
punt.
I'm going to punt.
Sorry, Sam Hartman.
Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, address the offensive line. I'm going to bring in some interior depth. Can you just scroll down for a little bit for me right there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Just a little bit.
Let's go interior defensive line.
No, offensive. I'm sorry.
Oh, offensive. Okay,
yes.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Here
we go.
Scroll down with me. All right, don't move. I'm going to go ahead and take. You can go 2 different ways here. I think Kingsley Gaquin is has the chance to develop into a real good player. I'm going to take more so the experience of a player like Matthew Lee from the University of Florida. He's 6'4", he's 301 pounds. I think he's, a really, really good athlete. He plays urgent off the line. Might be a little bit undersized, can probably gain to.
Well, you're talking Matt Lee out of Miami, correct?
Correct. Matt Lee, the center out of Miami. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
He could probably look to gain a little bit more functional strength. He struggle. If there's any struggles, it's at the point of attack. But I think he's a guy that can. I know he can play center at the next level. And again, this is a guy that. He's still young enough and he's still got enough room in his body to grow. You take his, the athleticism that he plays with and his quick first step and his understanding of leverage and angles and all that stuff. And I think you're going to have a center to come. And we need we need a true backup center. Right now we got Wes Schweitzer. I'm sure Matt Lee could bump out to left guard if need be, but Matt Lee's going to be my pick here. He's my interior backup.
Okay, again, with the 256 overall pick in the 7th round, the New York Jets select Matt Lee out of the University of Miami, a nice interior offensive lineman at Hog Molly. We select that, and now we get to Mr. Irrelevant. Where are we going with the final pick, not only for the Jets, but the entire 2024 NFL draft?
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. I got to be. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, we're gonna scroll down for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Let's look.
Sure.
I'm just trying to get a hold. See, I think Katana Ladapo is great. Eddie Olafocchio is great. I don't know if these guys would actually be there.
I trust your judgment.
You know what? Give me Jared Wiley, the tight end from TCU. We're gonna dip our toes back in the TCU thing. Listen, this is a dart throw. This is what it is. This is a guy that is going to come in and he's going to have special teams experience. This is a guy who's both solid in pass, in catching the pass, and in as a run blocker. I think you can utilize him as that H-back, fullback role. If we're expecting, again, this play here, Mr. Irrelevant, guys. This play here is not a play to come in and contribute right here. This is a play to, all right, how are we going to position ourselves next? Is Rucker going to take the next step up? Is Tyler Conklin going to leave after his contract's done this year, right? So if that happens, and again, we only have 2 more years of Rucker. This guy is exactly on the path. He kind of parallels the path of Jeremy Ruckert. I think they're very similar. Jeremy Ruckert was a little bit more explosive than Jared Wiley. Jared Wiley at 6'6", 250 pounds. I think he can come in and be a serviceable tight end too. Not going to affect you and not going to affect the field at all right here, right now, this year, except for the special teams, which I think is important. Now, I know that we just signed, oh my God, who did we bring back our third tight end here?
Kenny Yeboah.
Yeah, Kenny Yeboah. The contract is cheap.
And what about Zach Kuntz? So you're getting a lot of heat in the chat because we took a 7th-round pick tight end last time in Zach Kuntz.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to draft another one. So there's a lot of hate from people in the chat about this direction.
This is I'm probably going again. There's other guys on the board that I think won't be there. I'm trying to keep it as realistic.
Yes.
Like I would have taken Eddie Olafocchio like that. I would have taken some of these other guys, Katana Ladapo, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit more realistic. Yeah. Okay. But you know what? These are 7th round dart throws, and you see what happens. Again, chat can, the chat can give me heck all they want. I'm taking what I think is the reasonable a reasonable path for a plan for succession in the tight end room. We don't know what's happening with Conklin. Hopefully he gets extended or restructured or stays on the team longer. You only have 2 more years of Jeremy Ruckert. All right. You're just kind of filling the pipeline. You're putting some depth in here. Give me Jared Wiley.
Okay, I will take it. All these people said draft O-line, O-line dart throw. But hey, Dom C is the conductor of this train, baby.
And I'm going to tell you this. I don't think Zach Kuntz is on the roster. Hot take.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he lasts. Okay. I don't think he ever really plays a meaningful part of the Jets thing. There's still a whole heck of a lot of development there.
Okay, again, Jared Wiley, the tight end out of TCU, is the final pick. Mr. Irrelevant, how you doing for the New York Jets, which finishes off the draft? PFF's computers in the back are working overtime. Oh, boy. Wow. They did not like some of your picks here. All right, this is PFF. They gave you a big fat F. On again, I'm a big F on Isaiah Davis.
That's okay. Again, you got to remember, Paul, I'm going to pick players in the rounds where I think they should be picked, not as PFF ranks them.
Correct, which affects it. I mentioned this before. I always bring up this example. I use Yahoo Fantasy Football. I wish they were sponsored the show. They're not, but that's just the one I love and really appreciate. I've been using that for a decade plus in my fantasy football. And of course, the grades after are all based on, oh, you didn't take them where we told you, Paul. F or whatever happened. So that's obviously the pipeline here. We'll also share this out in the YouTube community for people that want to review this draft. It'll go out on Twitter, Instagram, and the YouTube community, so you guys can react to this as well. No, go ahead, Tom Z.
I was just going to say, guys, this is what would happen if you don't take a tackle in the first round. You trade down and you want to take the weapon first. This is what happens, right? Again, I'm all for taking the tackle, but I wanted to show a way or show some people what the board would look like if you go weapon, you trade down, get a second, go weapon, then tackle. So
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
where we're at.
I will read these. There's a lot of requests for reading, which I went to school for, so I can absolutely do that. That's one of my superpowers. That's on my resume. So remember, the Jets traded down in the first round from 10 to 15th overall in this mock draft scenario with the Indianapolis Colts. The Jets picked up a second round pick, but also had to sacrifice their third round pick. So basically, they just moved up in the draft. To be able to get that. Move back a little in the first to move up from the third to the second. They ended up, the Jets took Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU, that was with the 15th overall pick. In round 2, with the 46th overall pick, the Jets selected Patrick Paul, the offensive tackle out of Houston. In the 4th round, the number 111th overall pick, the Jets selected Cole Bishop, the safety out of Utah. The other 4th round pick, which came via the Baltimore Ravens, was 135th overall. That's wide receiver Luke McCaffrey out of Rice. Yes, there is relation to Christian McCaffrey. Thanks for asking. We go to the 6th round, 185th overall running back out of South Dakota State, Isaiah Davis. And then our 2 7th round picks, which are the 2 final picks of the draft. Matt Lee, the offensive lineman out of Miami. And then tight end Jared Wiley out of TCU, 257th overall. And that is your Tyron Smith post-signing Jets 7-round mock draft. Like I said, will be out on all our social media portals where you can very politely and civilly respond to Dom C and how he did, because obviously that's the only way that you will respond. You will not be angry or sad or happy or any other emotion. I'm sure you'll be very civil about this.
Yep. And that's okay. That's okay. You guys want weapon first? This is what happens. I'm kidding. Hypothetically, haha.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Again, I think it is. Big to make sure we go through all these scenarios. Before we get out of here, Dom C, I heard that you had this take somewhere else, so I just want to make sure I bring it here. So Sam Hartman, I heard that you believe he will be undrafted or a priority, or undrafted or maybe a late round guy. Is that true? Did I hear that correctly from other peeps?
That is true.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the biggest factor is he's gonna, he's 25 years old, gonna be 26 years old.
Yeah.
There's probably no one that's going to invest a pick, to develop a guy to play when he's 30. I mean, listen, maybe I'm wrong. I don't see it there. I think he's going to be a priority or a undrafted free agent for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the name to watch, guys, is Keaton Slovis. People aren't talking about it a lot, but the Jets have spent a lot of time on Keaton Slovis, who started his career at USC, played the majority of it at Pitt, and played his graduate season this year at BYU. So,
yeah,
very athletic quarterback. Interesting one.
All right, YouTube Super Chat came in. Thoughts on Ladd McConkey? What number did he go here? I actually have that in front of me. Ladd McConkey went 37th overall, very early in the second round, wide receiver Georgia, to the Chargers, which makes a lot of sense. They just blew up their entire wide receiver room, but he went 37th overall. What are your thoughts on him? And are the Jets just not in the proper range because they don't have a second? They have the third, and if they move up, they didn't even move up high enough, obviously, for even have a chance at McConkey in the second round in this scenario.
Correct. Yeah, listen, there's a chance that McConkey sneaks into the end of the first round. I think he's I think he's really good. He's going to be a very, plus route runner right from the get-go. He can create his own separation. Question if he'll be able to. I know a lot of people think that he's able to, play, be versatile, play the Z, play the slot. I think I'd probably keep him more in the slot and utilize his skill set and mismatches against slower safeties or linebackers or even those slot corners that he can separate from. Great hands. There's nothing not that much to like about Ladd McConkey other than maybe the fact that he doesn't have the best release package. He can be pushed off his route, pretty easily because he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest. So, I'm curious to know how he would handle, tougher, big physical press man corners, so, and the answer to that is fine. Just move him off the slot or get him in motion. Can't be pressed if he's, flying up and down or left and right off the field. Hell, put him in orbit motion like we did with Elijah Moore. Remember that one game, Paul, where he just ran against Scott Gibbs? It was Cleveland. No, maybe not Cleveland, but he just ran orbit motion for like 3.5 miles.
Yeah. So, what a guy. Yeah. Thank you for your contributions, Elijah Moore. We appreciate you. We absolutely appreciate you. So again, everybody, the YouTube description down below has a direct link to Dom C's channel where he talks all NFL draft, not just specifically the New York Jets. That is Project Prospect. Again, if you click down below, it is direct link. As soon as you click it, it jumps right to his channel. No searching. I make it as easy as possible for you, Dom. I know you have a very busy day of talking draft. Any other plugs you'd like to put in here?
On Mondays, 8 p.m., I co-host a Jets draft show on the Talking Jets network with Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7. And then 10 o'clock, same channel, Jets or Talking Jets network. Me and Green Bean will run the 10 o'clock mock. Again, we're running a situation similar to this one where, hey, we're post-free agency. Let's see what happens. But that, Paul, if you've never been on the 10 o'clock mock, I'm sure you have, is a unique one because that is dominated for the picks are chosen by you guys. We put polls in and you guys direct the flow of how the draft goes. So we talk it out, we talk to prospects and kind of let the chat handle everything. So
which is great.
I see a question on Fashanu before we get out of here because I'm running real late. Frank says, there we go. How much difference is it between him and Alt, in my opinion? So here's what I'm going to say. All right. I'll grade it like this for you, Frank. I think Alt is on his own tier. Okay. And below that tier, it's not a huge gap, but there's a gap. I'd say there's Fashanu and Latham. Or Latham and Fashanu. I think they're both second tier. And then below that is Fuaga. And then below that is Fontenot and Mims. So that's how I would rank probably those guys. The difference between Fashanu for Olu Fashanu and Alt is really how much better Alt plays against. He's just a little bit more powerful. I think that Olu Fashanu is very, very good. He's long. He checks off all the boxes, but I think he needs a little bit more functional strength. He needs to clean up his technique. He lets defenders get into his chest too much. There's something that, you kind of want to key offensive linemen doing, and that's from catching the rushers. He needs to be a little bit more proactive, use his hands better, position his hands better as well. I think that's technical stuff that needs to develop. He gives up, a passive inside. He gives up he gives up an inside rush a little too much as a counter. He's a little too passive on the inside, so you can get across his face. It needs to develop some more drive in his run block. And again, think he's a very talented player. He's got some check marks to still fill in. I think Alt's just a little bit more refined at this point.
Fair enough. And we'll end with this. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We have 200 people on YouTube. Make sure you guys like the video. That's your free way to contribute to the show. Also, hit subscribe. And the 700-plus people on Twitter, make sure as well you hit the follow button. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Dom, thanks, brother.
You got it, Paul.
All right. See you guys tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily. Take care.